GitHub Copilot can fix its own code now. They have just released the agent mode available in preview. What it means is that it is capable of iterating on its own code. So whenever it finds a bug, it can self-heal. Similar to Cursor, it can suggest terminal commands. In agent mode, Copilot will iterate on not just its own output, but the result of that output, which means that it will iterate on any runtime errors or the output to the terminal as a result of its actions. It will iterate until it has completed all the subtasks required to complete your prompt. Instead of performing just the task you requested, Copilot now has the ability to infer additional tasks that were not specified but are also necessary for the primary request to work. So I think it may be even better than Cursor if it delivers on this, because Cursor is not very good at it. Can introduce errors. Even if it is self-healing, it still can abruptly stop without fixing all the errors. Here's a demo that they have done. You can go through it if you want. So there are a few features that they have released. GitHub Copilot edits, and there's in the agent mode. They say this is generally available in VS Code. If you already have a VS Code installation, you can just add it. The two extensions, one is Copilot Chat and GitHub Copilot. You have the Vision agent mode, next edit suggestions, and more for GitHub Copilot. VS Code January release. You can attach now images to the chats, only available in VS Code Insider's release. Agents mode as of today is available for GitHub Copilot edits, but you have to install the VS Code Insider's edition. You have next edit suggestion. This is more like a Cursor tab. You next edit suggestions to anticipate the next edit that you might want to make. Very similar to Cursor's tabbed feature. You have prompt files, which is basically Cursor rules files. Prompt files allow you and your team to build, store, and share reusable prompts. They contain predefined instructions and the context of GitHub Copilot Chat and Copilot edits, which will help you save time, maintain consistency, and support the sharing of best practices across workflows for shared development tasks and domains. Goes a little bit further than the Cursor rules because it seems like there is some sort of collaboration feature. So these are the main features: Vision, agent mode, next edit suggestions, and prompt files. In order to use all this, you need to install Visual Code Insiders Edition, which I'll show you in a moment. Now, I also want to talk about Project Padawan, which is the SWE agent, software engineering agents on GitHub, which is not yet available. This is just their first look. They have released a video on how it is supposed to work. It's not available for the public yet. Behind the scenes, what it does is it can fix bugs and make changes to multiple edits in your project and commit to your repository in multiple commits to make that change. And it will also add to the description. If you have an issue in GitHub, it will link to that issue. Behind the scenes, Copilot automatically spins up a secure cloud sandbox for every task it's assigned. It then asynchronously clones the repository, sets up the environment, analyzes the code base, edits the necessary files, and builds, tests, and links the code. If you have any manual review, you can add those as the discussion points, and Copilot will take those discussion points into consideration, redo the changes if necessary. Also, make sure all the tests are passing. It is still in development. It's basically based on this paper here, SWE Agent Computer Interfaces Enable Automated Software Engineering. I haven't read it yet. But anyway, let's just have a look at how you can actually use it. First of all, you will need to install Visual Studio Code Insiders. Simply search for Visual Studio Code Insiders and then click on the first link. And then you have to download this Mac Universal. It will appear as a separate application, not as Visual Studio Code. It will say Insiders at the end of it, and it has a green icon. And then once downloaded, you just drag it to your applications folder or follow the Windows installation procedure. And after that, you simply open it by saying Visual Studio Code Insiders. First time when you open it, you will get the screen. Use AI features with sign in to use Copilot for free. You'll have to sign in with your GitHub account. Once you sign in, you'll be redirected back to Visual Studio Code Insiders. So this is the chat window. This is the edit with Copilot, which I'm going to be honest, it looks a lot like Cursor. So let's run through the interface very quickly. You have these two tabs here. This is the Copilot edits, and you have the other Ask mode for Copilot. You have the model picker here. So the new agent mode can be accessed in the edit with Copilot, where you have edit and you can switch to agent. You have Claude 3.5 Sonnet and Gemini 2.0 Flash and GPT-4o. So it's very similar to the two modes that Cursor has. One is the chat one and the other one is the agent mode or the multi-file editing window. Here, the one thing that I like about in the multi-edit Cursor Composer like window, we can actually add the files that we want, the working set. So we can actually restrict the changes to these files. So this is like adding the context to the edit, similar to Cursor's context. Let's try this prompt. Create a Next.js app with OpenAI SDK. Users input a prompt, click submit, and get a generator story displayed below. It's a story generator that I want to do. Let's send it. We can see that it's showing my GitHub username over there. It's actually running the command. I'm already liking it so far. The only thing that it did was it created another directory inside the story generator. So it should have detected it is the current directory. If this is free, this is mind-blowing that I would just tell it. I'll just tell it that the project directory is the current directory for clarity. Otherwise, it will create another project inside that directory. Inside the current directory as project root. Doesn't look like it's running it in the terminal, but it doesn't look like now it is actually trying to cd into that directory. Much more pleasing to look at. The design has messed up the whole thing. I wish if there was something like the YOLO mode that you have in Cursor, that auto accept or decline, you have this option of running without asking for confirmation. It did create a bunch of files outside the initial project directory that it created. So let's just delete all that and let's go to the story generator and try to run the npm run dev, and let's just accept everything. Done. That is actually a fail. Since I mainly work with Next.js application, the first something like this would have worked on the first run with Cursor. Let's just start over. There's no history function, which is a bummer. You can also talk to it. You don't need a Whisperflow extension or use Max dictation. You can install this microphone extension. I didn't know this actually, VS Code speech extension. Go ahead and click OK and it will start installing the VS Code speech extension. Treat the current directory as the project root. Do not create another directory for the project when using create next app command. Issue a create next app command with a dot at the end, which indicates it is the current directory. It is correctly installing in the current directory now. Continue. Similar to Cursor, it has tools to run commands in the terminal. It is now running, installing, executing the commands in the terminal, installing the necessary packages. And I can also see that it is quite fast. So if you look at the root TS, the way it will change, wow, that is really fast. I have to say that it's much faster than Cursor. Copilot has been working on this problem for a while. It can continue to iterate, or you can send a new message to refine your prompt. Done. It's closed. All right, fine. The only thing that it doesn't have a history. Let's see if I want to make a new change, whether it will locate the files correctly. I would like to use the model GPT-4o mini rather than 3.5 turbo. It submits it automatically, so you have to be fast. When it detects a break, when it detects silence, it doesn't recognize the latest model, GPT-4o mini. I'm just going to manually change that to GPT-4o mini, and I'm going to add my OpenAI key. Let's see if the app actually works. Enter a prompt for your story. Children's. Let's ask it to fix that error by taking a screenshot. We will check the vision capabilities. PN 3.5 Sonnet preview doesn't support images, so maybe we need to change to flash preview. Maybe that will mess up the whole thing. Yep, that is not supported either. GPT-4o supports images. The background for the text area input is white, and also the foreground is also a light color, so I can't see anything that I type in. Can you fix this? It has a much more refined way of finding files, maybe. It is not automatically applied. You have to go there and apply it. I'm not going to click done this time because the history gets reset. Yes, that has been fixed now. Generated children's bedtime story. Generate story. Generating. All right. Okay. It has generated a story. Again, the generated story is not visible. So you get the idea. It is working. It did not produce a ton of errors. So definitely great potential. And also, this is free to use with Claude 3.5 Sonnet and GPT-4o. Maybe there are some rate limits, but it is completely free to use. That's insane. You can also use VS Code LM API directly from here. You have many more options here. Copilot O3 Mini. This is client, by the way. This is not Copilot. So if you have client, you can select VS Code LM API and have access to many more models here. O3 Mini. I wonder why O3 Mini is not showing up here. But if I go to chat, maybe O3 Mini, it's only available in the chat mode, not in the agent mode. It is available in the chat mode and the edit mode O3 Mini, but as soon as you switch to agent mode, it is not supported with O3 Mini. So these are the pricing plans for developers looking to get started with GitHub Copilot in $0. The Pro version is also available for free for verified students, teachers, and maintainers of popular open source projects. I don't know. What do you think? Is it time to switch to GitHub Copilot? There are a few that would make me hesitate to switch. For example, the history and the restore functionality, where you can restore your code to a previous point in time if it makes any mistakes. The seamless sort of functionality doesn't seem to be there in Copilot, but very promising. promising. Let me know your thoughts. Have you tried this new version of Copilot yet? Let me know in the comments. For free version, you get message and AI interaction up to 50 per month. It is similar to Cursor, $10. That is absolutely a bargain, I think. Unlimited. And also, I don't think they are rate limiting or have slow requests after that. Access to Cloud 3.5 Sonnet. You don't have access to OpenAI O1 in the free version. Everything else is pretty much the same. You have real-time code suggestions up to 2,000 per month, which is similar to Cursor. But yeah, I think the pricing plan is worth the price of 2 coffees. And that's very promising. Follow for more. Subscribe. Ton of videos coming out very soon. Whether it is MVP development, AI tools, or AI coding,